gut health is a huge, huge problem in the modern world. So 60 million Americans have gut issues. So that's everything from GERD or reflux, food allergies, that kind of thing. The other thing that's important about digestion is that it's intimately connected with mental health. So there have been studies showing that the gut biome can be a measure of anxiety, for example. Someone who is suffering from a high level of anxiety often will have a low level of the healthy bacteria in their gut. And the average American has about 50 different strains, but people who are living in a more natural environment or indigenous groups, for example, in Africa, they tested the gut biome and those people had 200 to 250 different strains. And it's not that they have a wider variety of food, I don't think, because we have a huge, go into a grocery store, we have like a lot of food to choose from. But they have a much healthier gut. So they're not being affected by, pesticides and chemicals and plastics and things that might make it difficult for the gut biome. So on that level, the digestion is affecting mental health as well as physical health. You have a lot of neurons in your gut. There's 500 million neurons. So it's less than in the brain. However, it's a very significant number. So you do feel things with your gut. You feel things with your heart and you think with your mind. So it's like three brains, the mind and then the heart and then the gut. And the gut really is a source of wisdom at the level of what you're sensing that you might reject mentally. You don't think that person intends you harm, but yet your gut is telling you that, you'd better be cautious in that situation. So it is important, for the gut to be healthy and to be strong and for you to be able to have that connection. The other thing that I find fascinating is the language that is associated with different parts of our body, so the symbolism of the body. And in the case of the guts, if you are a person who shares your feelings easily, they say you spill your guts, which is interesting. You don't spill your heart or spill your lungs, you spill your guts. And then there's other metaphors. For example, if something's really bothering you, then you say, well, it's really eating you up. Or if you're just obsessively thinking about something, you say that person is contemplating their navel. So they're not contemplating their knee, they're contemplating their navel. And that is considered like a source of where that kind of obsessive thinking would go on. And then finally, if you don't like someone, you say that you hate their guts, which is very telling. Like the guts is the core of the person. You don't hate their shoulder, you hate their guts. So those are just some of the symbolic or metaphoric kind of things that show the significance of the gut. So now I'll go through each of the mantras that will be part of this playlist and just give a little explanation. So the first one is the mantra for the solar plexus chakra. This is Om Ram Namaha Ram. And Ram is the seed syllable, that's R-A-M, pronounced with a short A, like So Ram, that is the seed syllable for the solar plexus. So the chakra that is over the navel, in between the sacral chakra, which is more the reproductive organs, and then the heart. So right in the middle there, the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is stimulated by that sound. There are sounds, let's see, Lam for the base, Vam for the sacral, and then Ram for the solar plexus. And the R, each of the letters also have significance. The R is like a fire syllable. So you need fire in the gut. You need fire to digest your food. So as I mentioned, digestive issues or something. I was an infant and I had digestive issues. So it's something that I came in with. And interestingly enough, when I found mantras and started chanting every day, I was really attracted to the fire mantras. So, you need that fire to digest your food and to digest ideas, to digest life, to break things down. So that's Ram, and I'll put a link there for Om Ram Namaha, the solar plexus mantra. Then the next one is a Rama mantra, so R-A-M-A. So the name of a Hindu deity is also Ram or Rama. And when you sing it as Rama, the Ra is the masculine side, and then the Ma is the feminine side, and so you're balancing both the masculine and the feminine, and you're moving that energy up through the spinal channels called the Pingala and the Ida. And I do have a whole video that is talking about that as well, called What Are the Nadis? So you're moving that energy, and as that energy moves, it does help to clear each of the chakras. So it's interesting that that particular word, which helps to clear all of the chakras, is really focused on the solar plexus in terms of the similarity between the sound of Rama and then the sound of Ram. So that's the second one that you could use to help with digestive issues. And then the next one, Agni Deva, Om Agni Devaya Namaha. And that is a chant to Lord Agni. So Lord Agni is the Lord of Fire, or the personification of fire. You know, the fire elements in the 5-element system. So there's many cultures that have either 4 or 5 elements, like the Chinese 5 elements, and then the Vedic 5 elements, and then the 4 humors in the European tradition. So it's the idea that there's different forces in nature, there's different forces that balance each other out. For example, you have the fire element and the water element. So the water element can tone the fire element down, just like water can put out fire. So it's the same kind of thing. Or the wind element, or air, vayu, that would fan the fire and would increase the fire. So if you wanted to have multiple elements that were helping to increase the fire, you could do one for the wind and then one for fire as well. So this one, Om Agni Devaya Namaha, is specifically for fire. And it's all different variations of fire. You know, like they say the Eskimos can see 50 shades of white, and that jungle people can see multiple dozens of shades of green. Those of us in the West that don't have a need to discriminate at that fine level might look at it and think the snow all looks the same, or, you know, every jungle vine looks the same. So this is the same kind of thing. There are many types of fire. There's the fire that glows, there's fire that creates ash, there's fire that's blown by the wind, and Lord Agni, in the stories of the Hindu tradition, or Sanatana Dharma, he is married to his consort named Swaha. She's the goddess of fire, and she is in charge of fire offerings. When you have something, whether it's unforgiveness or anger, ignorance, that you want to offer into a fire, then she's sort of the intermediary for that. And Swaha can be used at the end almost like Amen, like I release into the fire everything that would impede me in moving forward on my path. So Om Agni Devaya Namaha, Namaha is just I bow. And then Lord Agni and the goddess Swaha have 3 sons who have consorts, and they have like 45 grandchildren, and each one of those is like a different type of fire. So that is a wonderful Vedic mantra to bring fire into digestion. So if it's like having, like if you have low acid, you know, you don't have enough acid to digest your food. So you're adding all of this on an energetic level. And obviously you can still take care of the physical as well. So I don't put this forward as do this mantra 100 times and you won't have any digestive problems. It will help clear you on the energetic level, and I would advise that you have a doctor or a naturopath or an acupuncturist that works with you. For example, for myself, I had digestive issues quite severely for about 6 years in my 20s, and then discovered after the birth of my second child that I had celiac disease. And that was life-changing. Like I didn't get through a day in those years that I didn't have moderate to severe digestive pain. And I can remember, you know, when my gut had healed enough by avoiding all things related to gluten, that it wasn't painful anymore. That was a notable day. I'm grateful that I discovered that, and that was like ages before it was popular. Like now you go in every restaurant and it's like people look at you if you say you're on a gluten-free diet, like you're just some health food fanatic. But I was diagnosed like 30 years ago, and there was nothing. Like I used to have to carry a bag of food with me if I went even out of town. You know, I'm in Montana, so towns are far apart. You know, it's half an hour, 2 hours between towns. So I would bring a shopping bag, full of rice cakes and like canned sardines and whatever, to make sure that I could get gluten-free food. And now it's easy. And so at any rate, that is for digestion, and I still love the fire chants. It's always good to stoke that fire, in your heart as well as in the gut, but for digestion as well. So then the next chant that we have on the sheet here is to Lakshmi. So Lakshmi Bhyo Namaha, Om Hrim Shrim, Lakshmi Bhyo Namaha. So Bhyo is to give or disperse. So this is calling to Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth. Pronounced really Lakshmi, which is interesting, like you have good fortune, you have good luck. So Lakshmi. And Hrim is a fire syllable. The H has to do with prana and breath, ha. And then the R that we talked about for fire, Im for focus, E, that's like third eye, and then the M for the Divine Mother. So all that in that one word. So Om focuses the mind, sort of taps you into universal energy. Then the Hrim, then Shrim, and that is a goddess syllable, particularly for Lakshmi. So it's like splendor, it's like the beautiful light of the moon. It's not as intense as like the light of the sun, which would be Surya, or the sun god. So it's a beautiful, brilliant, but softer kind of light. So more feminine, it's definitely a feminine seed syllable, or syllable that contacts a fundamental vibration. So Om Hrim Shrim, Lakshmi, her name, Bhyo Namaha. I give honor to Lakshmi, who distributes all wealth and goodness. And the reason why that has to do with digestion, there's a number of things. One is that she is a goddess who is specifically associated with the solar plexus chakra. So she dispenses gold coins, among other things. I'll put up a picture, of the gold coins, her dispensing the gold coins into a bowl. And so gold is considered to be solidified sunlight. So she has a connection to that purest level of energy. And the sun is really considered to be the ultimate healer. Anytime you're in doubt and you want a healing mantra, you can always chant to the sun. That's like, the giver of life, the bringer of hope, the returner of spring and life. So she's connected to gold and connected to the sun, and also connected to the solar plexus. So some translations of her name mean to take aim, so like to hit a target. And in order to have wealth, for example, mastering your emotional body. So a lot of the emotional body is related to the solar plexus chakra, which is directly connected to digestion. So mastering your emotions and that solar plexus energy takes you a long way in business, because business is the exchange. It's the exchange of energy between two people, two countries, two businesses. It's a give and a take. So if your emotional body is clear, then you are free to go forward in a very balanced and healthy way to exchange energy with others, to exchange goods and services, and that leads to wealth. So that's Lakshmi, related to digestion as well as related to wealth. The next chant is just the word Ram. So I do have a video that is a chant that goes through, takes about 10 minutes, goes through each of the chakras with 3 different melodies, just chanting on the seed syllable. And that's what this one is here. So I'll link to that, and that will go through all of them, and you can focus on just that. It's the 3rd verse, there's 7 verses, 1 for each chakra. So you could focus on that, and I'll make sure that there's chapters there so you'd be able to go right to it. So that is a chakra chant. So the chakra associated with digestion, and just chanting for that seed syllable to strengthen that chakra. Then we have Shiva Ra. So this is Shiva, who is like the sun. Ra is the sun. It's the same thing in the Egyptian tradition, where Ra is the sun god. So this is Shiva, who is like the sun. And that's just, I give honor to Shiva, who is like the sun. So in this one, you're bringing forward that energy of the sun, so the fire for digestion, and then Shiva, or Shiva, is that energy of dissolution. So there's the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver. Krishna is the most well-known incarnation of Vishnu, but Vishnu. And then Shiva, who is the destroyer. So he's the one who destroys illusions. He's the one who dissolves. Shiva Shambho is a form of Shiva that dissolves all that is not eternal, all that is unreal. So there's many, many different forms of a lot of the gods and goddesses, but many forms of Shiva. And so this form is specifically for the solar plexus, because you've got that syllable Ra, so just without the M on the end, meaning the sun, and then dissolution. So, dissolving and removing all that would interfere with that flow of energy and with the energy of the sun and the solar plexus for balance and healing. And that is the whole list. So what was that? 1, 2, 3. So that was half a dozen different chants. So this will be this explanation and then 6 other videos in the playlist, and you can just see which one works for you. And blessings for the best of health, the best of digestion. Thank you for listening today. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.